Welcome back to another lore compilation. Yeah, 2 of these back to back. Last month was weird, but I still prefer to start off each month with one of these. I am working on a couple long form videos I'm hoping to get done this month. Some about Sonic topics, some about others. There's a bunch of weird updates and changes happening with online content creation too, but I'm staying as focused as I can on my projects. Cause at the end of the day, I just really like making videos. Again, always grateful y'all watch my videos, and I'm doing my best to keep up with consistent and quality work. This video will be a compilation of all of my shorts from March of 2025. This is Eggtoberfest. In issue 5 of Archie's Sonic Boom comic, Eggman finds that no one in the village trusts him anymore, making it much more difficult to pull off his evil schemes. He attempts to win back their favor by being nice, but that doesn't work out. Instead, he decides to run a carnival outside his evil lair, calling the event Eggtoberfest. However, he does forget to hire ride operators and begs Sonic and friends to help him, to which they reluctantly agree. However, when Eggman checks in on what people are saying about him, they still don't trust him, enraging the Doctor and causing him to unleash his robots on his own carnival. Thankfully, as Sonic and friends are already there, they make short work of Eggman's attack force, and are celebrated by the townspeople, while Eggman wonders why he's never carried off on their shoulders. This is when Rouge was a mummy. In IDW's 2019 Sonic Annual, Ruff and Tumble decide to go treasure hunting in the Lost Pyramid of Dr. Eggman. After narrowly avoiding being crushed, Tumble mentions that he had heard that the pyramid has a curse on it. Ruff tells him there's nothing to be scared of before the two find out they're not alone. It turns out that Rouge also came to the base, planning to collect the Doctor's treasure. The skunks attempt to give her the slip, only for the trio to run directly into the egg golem. Rouge says they just need to find its remote before being caught off guard by something. The skunks manage to take down the golem regardless, only to be confronted by a now completely mummified Rouge, who warns them not to let the bandages touch them or they will be doomed for all eternity, causing the duo to flee. Once they're out of sight, Rouge breaks character. In reality, she found that a group of villagers had made the abandoned base their home, and she was doing what she could to protect them, noting that they might not even need their traps anymore, with the skunks telling everyone that the pyramid is cursed, and for her assistance, she is rewarded with Eggman's treasure. This is the Shinobi Clan. In the Archie Sonic comics, the Shinobi Clan is the clan of ninja Espio originates from. Led by the mother of the Chaotix member, the clan once attempted to be the protectors of the Dragon Kingdom, but their small number forced them to work in secret to survive. Initially, Espio was just meant to monitor Knuckles and report back to the clan if he had done anything dangerous. But despite his orders, he ended up becoming friends with Knuckles. Like the other clans of the Dragon Kingdom, they were subjugated by the Iron Queen, with Espio's loyalty to the clan forcing him to work for her as well. Though at the first opportunity they're given, they do stop working with the Iron Queen. This is when Sally and Amy teamed up. In issue 188 of Archie Sonic, after she and Sonic were ambushed by the Destructics and the Hooligans, Sally finds herself running from Fang. She manages to avoid getting shot by diving into Freedom Fighters HQ's secret entrance. When she enters their base, she finds that Amy is the only one there, leading the two to team up. When the mercenary enters through the secret entrance himself, he readies a shot to take Sally out, before Amy hits him with her hammer, knocking him unconscious. The two then stage a rescue mission and help free the captured hero. Dr. Zachary is an antagonist in the Fleetway comics. First appearing in issue 65, he takes advantage of Knuckles' trust in finding another member of his kind to attempt to steal the power of the Emeralds, which would lead the floating island to crash to the ground. However, during their battle, Zachary falls off the floating island, seemingly to his doom. However, he survived due to Robotnik's patrol finding him, and the Doctor subsequently rebuilding him, and he returns to terrorize the Freedom Fighters in issue 97, with the two of them plotting to use the people of Emerald Hill as components of a biological supercomputer, only for an EMP caused by Supersonic to shut it down and leave them a chance to fight back. Knuckles battles Zachary once more, causing him to fall into a chasm. According to writer Nigel Kitching, had the comic continued, he would have returned once more, releasing a gang of echidna criminals who had been placed in stasis upon Mobius. Sonic getting attacked by orcas has made its way to the comics a few times. While Archie neglected to feature the scene in their own adventure adaptation, Sonic X number 3 opens with Sonic getting attacked by an angry duo of these aquatic mammals. Much later in the mainline series, they would introduce Aklat the Orca, a psychic egg boss who would survive the transition to post-reboot, albeit with a major redesign. And during the first Mega Man crossover, Sonic laments his previous experiences with whales while crossing a very similar bridge. Most recently in the IDW comics, during Sonic's 900th adventure, the blue hedgehog almost gets chomped by an orca before Amy diverts its path. The two manage to use it for their own benefit in dealing with the overcharged warp topaz, before managing to return the mammal through the portal it came from. This is the Porker Metallix. In issue 62 of Fleetway Sonic the Comic, Sonic's friend Porker gets stranded on the Miracle Planet as it disappears, trapping him there for a month. When the planet returns in issue 67, Sonic reunites with his friend, but picks up on him acting strangely, though Porker insists that everything's fine. When the Chaotix arrive, however, they reveal that the planet has actually been entirely converted to a base for the Metallix, which Porker claims ignorance of. While the group climbs their way back up to the planet, Sonic notices Porker's hurt, but upon looking at the injury, he finds his arm is completely metal. This causes the imposter Porker to reveal themselves as a Metallix. Despite being outnumbered, the robot manages to quickly deal with both Sonic and the Chaotix, with the group only managing to defeat him because Sonic manages to catch him by surprise. While making their way through the industrialized Miracle Planet, the group finds the real Porker Lewis having been held captive for the entire month. This is when Jet quit. In the Archie Sonic comics, the Babylon Rogues were all once members of the Battlebird Armada, and in Sonic Universe number 33, we see exactly how they left the militaristic group. The Armada's leader, Grand Battle Cuckoo 15, summoned Jet for a meeting. The leader begins by insisting that Jet, along with everyone else, follow his every order to achieve their goals, which he explains is to dominate the sky as well as the rest of the world, and that once they find their way to the Babylon Garden, they'll be able to do so, which Jet declines. While he's interested in finding the Babylon Garden, he says that ruling the world isn't what he signed up for. For his insolence, the Grand Battle Cuckoo throws him in the brig, where he would end up escaping alongside Wave and Storm, forming the Babylon Rogues. The Rogues would later free Predator Hawk from the Armada's brig as well, causing him to become a temporary member of the group, before being recruited by Mammoth Mogul. This is when Blaze talked to Knuckles. In the 2022 IDW annual, after finally ensuring the safety of the Soul Emeralds and being urged to take a break, Blaze goes to speak with the one other person who might understand her situation, the guardian of the Master Emerald, Knuckles. She explains what's going on, that though she has no reason to worry with her royal duties taken care of and both her world and the Soul Emerald safe, she still doesn't want to take time for herself because if something bad happened, she wouldn't be there to fix it. After listening to everything she says, Knuckles tells her to take the vacation. He explains that for him, since the Master Emerald can't leave the island, every time he leaves, he takes a risk. But Blaze's current situation is basically a gift. She thanks him for the advice and even offers to give him some time off by watching the Master Emerald, though he declines. The comics have depicted Sonic and Tails' first meeting a few different ways. In issue 27 of Fleetway's Sonic the Comic, after dropping out of his super form, Sonic finds himself in Swampland Zone, and comes across what he believes to be two people drowning in the bog. However, when Sonic pulls them free, he finds that both Tails were attached to the same person, leading to the first real meeting between Sonic and Tails. Across the pond in pre-reboot Archie, Sonic's friends with Tails from the very beginning, as when Tails' mother goes into labor, he and Sally are the ones who get her to the hospital, and after the twin-tailed fox is born, the two immediately take a liking to one another. Post-reboot, however, neglects to show us a time before the two knew each other. Finally, the December 1992 edition of Besatsu Koro Koro Comic has Tails meet Sonic's alter ego Nikki, as he explains that he looks up to Sonic, and he plans to follow him wherever he goes. Though as expected in this story, he never picks up on that Nikki and Sonic are the same person. This is when Metal Sonic stopped Snively. While Snively had only recently rejoined his uncle's side, it would not be long before the two began to argue. After a verbal altercation in Archie's 2007 Free Comic Book Day special, he decides it's already time to attempt his betrayal. He approaches the inactive Metal Sonic, intent on rewriting his programming, only for the robot to grab a hold of him and bring him to face the Doctor. Eggman reveals that not only did he know about his current plan, but that all of his robots are programmed to monitor his traitorous nephew, and the Doctor strongly encourages he pull the plug on all of his plans of betrayal. This is when Eggman and Sonic called a truce. In issue 180, Eggman launches an attack on New Mobotropolis, only for Sonic to tell him he doesn't have time to deal with him because Enerjak has returned, to which Eggman asks the Hedgehog to explain. After he does so, Sonic suggests the two call a temporary truce until Enerjak's been defeated, though he insists that the Doctor avoid backstabbing him this time. Eggman says not to worry and goes to prepare a plan. When the Enerjak-possessed Knuckles is attacking New Mobotropolis, Eggman launches an attack and manages to capture the deity, telling Sonic that he kept his end of the bargain. Sonic responds that kidnapping Knuckles wasn't part of the deal, to which the Doctor retorts that regardless of who it was, he did just save their city, and in return, he'll get to use Enerjak as a battery. As he leaves, Sonic notes, technically he didn't actually double-cross them this time. This is when Tails got cool. After a group of townsfolk forget Tails' name, he starts to wish he was as cool as Sonic, only for him to spot an ad for self-improvement lessons. However, when he arrives, it turns out it's actually for hypnotherapy. After the session, Tails is extremely confident, but the Doctor's worried she overdid it. Later, when a hot air balloon is crashing, Sonic looks to get his little buddy's help, only to find him too busy enjoying his newfound popularity. Sonic does manage to trick him into helping, though after he comes to the rescue, he quickly leaves, only for his hypnotherapist to show up and explain the situation. The two end up catching up with Tails at a bar called the Tea Club, just as the Fox instigates a fight. After they manage to break Tails from his hypnosis, Sonic tries to talk their way out of the fight, but it seems to be too late for that, though the Doctor uses one of her treatments to stop the altercation. Tails swears off hypnotherapy, to which Amy reassures him that he's good enough just the way he is, and Sonic adds, even if he can be a little boring. This is when Knuckles got his revenge. In the Sonic Universe arc, Knuckles the Return, Knuckles gets to confront the person responsible for his father's death, Dr. Finitivus. However, just as he has him in his grasp, chains attach themselves to Angel Island. The Doctor claims to not be responsible, leading the two to temporarily ally with one another. However, as Knuckles investigates further, it becomes more obvious that Finitivus was lying. Knuckles confronts him at the Master Emerald's altar, though Finitivus attempts to get him on his side, saying he can give him anything he wants. To which Knuckles replies he wants his father back. He wants to be able to face his mother and people again, and he wants Finitivus off his island. The two begin to fight, both channeling energy from the Master Emerald, and seem to be evenly matched. However, Finitivus manages to get Knuckles in a warp ring and threatens to cut him in half. Luckily, Julie Sue arrives and manages to shoot the Doctor before he does it, giving Knuckles the opportunity to toss the evil Echidna off the island. This is when Espio fought Bean. In issue 269 of the Archie Sonic comics, Espio the Chameleon and Bean the Dynamite face off in the Chaos Emerald Championship. Espio remarks that he didn't expect to see him again so soon, only for Bean to not remember him. Espio yells that he tried to kill him, making the hooligan remember him but refer to him as a samurai, enraging the Chameleon, making him yell that he's a ninja, not a samurai lapdog. Espio rushes to attack his foe, only to be tripped out of the ring, making Espio both lose and realize that Bean was getting under his skin on purpose. This is when Cream cooked. In issue 65 of the IDW Sonic comics, Cream and her mother are preparing to host a dinner party with the Chaotix as guests. However, when Vanilla discovers they're out of butter, she heads to the store to get some, tasking Cream with watching over the stove and the roast in the oven. However, just as she leaves, Rough and Tumble stage a break-in, assuming no one is home, greatly upsetting Gemral. In the ensuing melee, the stove catches fire and the thieves end up using most of the prepared food as weapons. When the kitchen timer goes off, Cream manages to break from the skirmish to get the roast out of the oven, only for Tumble to ruin it, making the rabbit cry. Vanilla arrives home to see her daughter in tears and her kitchen a mess, and handles the skunks. The Chaotix arrive, and though the food was ruined, Vanilla makes up for it by ordering takeout. This is how Sonic spent his first St. Patrick's Day. Issue 17 of Archie's Sonic X comics begins with Sonic going for a run with Cream's Chow cheese. And when they return home, they find the Chow had turned green, having temporarily gained Sonic's speed trait. Sonic, however, finds that everyone is wearing green, and is informed that it's St. Patrick's Day. Meanwhile, Eggman is also learning about the holiday, and after hearing about leprechauns, he decides he needs to capture one to steal their gold to finance his schemes. Unfortunately, Bokoon had just been covered with green paint, and the Doctor mistakes him for a leprechaun. The robot leads his pursuers directly to Station Square's St. Patrick's Day parade, leading the Doctor to attack with a giant leprechaun robot. While Bokoon and Cheese make a run for it, Sonic attempts to fight off the mech. It begins to rain, washing the paint off Bokoon, and Cream flying with Cheese removes the Chow's speed typing. Eggman's able to grab a hold of Sonic, but as the rain stops, a rainbow appears, leading Chris to inform the Doctor that leprechauns live at the end of the rainbow, causing Eggman to release Sonic and quickly head off to continue his search. The planet of the Sonic franchise has been called a few different things. Most recently, in the preview pages for the DC Sonic crossover, it was explicitly referred to as Earth, which the games have done as well, but this sparked a bit of discourse, so I thought it'd be fair to cover it. The OVA refers to the world as Planet Freedom, but is sort of implied to be a post-apocalyptic Earth, and a setting at least similar to the ancient relics pops up in the IDW comic Sonic's 900th Adventure. Archie Sonic is set on the world of Mobius, which in issue 124 is also revealed to be a post-apocalyptic version of Earth, it having been hit with a gene bomb by the alien species the Zorda. The Fleetway comics, however, establish Mobius and Earth to be two separate planets light years away from each other, with our planet being visited in a handful of stories. While the films have never named Sonic's home planet, the storyboards for the second film feature Knuckles calling Sonic Child of Mobius, which was preserved in that film's novelization. Personally, I don't have much attachment to a specific name for the planet, but I do think the history is interesting. This is when Metal Sonic appeared in Sonic X. While the robotic hedgehog never appeared in the show, he did appear in the final issue of Archie's Sonic X comic, having warped to this dimension alongside Archie's version of Shadow. Having arrived in the unfamiliar universe, his programming immediately has him seek out this reality's Robotnik. After briefly terrorizing his minions, Metal finally meets the Doctor, who is more than happy to use him for his plans. The Doctor brags about his own intellect before heading off to battle Sonic with his new ally. However, when they finally come across the Doctor's foe, they also come across Shadow, leading the two to fight and quickly teleport away, causing Eggman to make a quick retreat. Flash made a really niche reference in the DC Sonic crossover. In the first issue of DC X Sonic, which you should all go pick up, its peak, Flash inquires about the origins of Sonic's speed, asking if his speed is really all natural and there was no crazy mad science treadmill accident or anything. On the DC side of things, this is a reference to the Cosmic Treadmill, which played a part in the origin of Flash villain Hunter Zolomon, also known as Zoom. On the Sonic side of things, this is a reference way back to the 1991 Sonic prequel comic, where, after becoming friends with Dr. Kintobor, a not-yet-blue Sonic trains on his supersonic treadmill before it overloads, explodes, and alters the Speedy Hedgehog. A scene very similar to this appears in issue 8 of the Fleetway comics as well. Both of these scenes do imply that Sonic was already pretty fast, though using Kintobor's device helped him get faster, with the scenes equally being origins for why he's blue.
Why are you blue?
This is DC's version of Sonic. In the DC X Sonic crossover, the Flash mistakes Sonic for an individual known as Crackle. Crackle was the imaginary friend of a young Wally West, who he talked to through a radio. Years later, however, Wally would find that his friend was not imaginary, but member to an alien species composed entirely of radio waves. The two would be forced to race against one another by a pair of cosmic gamblers, with the fate of their worlds hanging in the balance. Crackle would ultimately sacrifice his own life to ensure the survival of his people and Earth. Despite his demise, he has started appearing again, primarily as cameos, but he's certainly still around. Crackle is loosely inspired by Sonic, which isn't necessarily surprising as one of his co-creators, Mark Miller, was an early contributor to the Fleetway comics. This is when Silver found the traitor to the Freedom Fighters. Throughout his Archie-Sonic pre-reboot appearances, Silver was attempting to track down the traitor responsible for the destruction of his future, and in issue 247 he finally figures out their identity. Sonic is hesitant to even hear him out as he falsely accused a fair amount of his other friends, but agrees to after Tails vouches for him. Silver reveals to the group that the purported traitor was Sally, but that history just lost the details that she had been roboticized and was not acting of her free will, causing Silver to change his mission, no longer wanting to destroy the traitor but help Sonic and friends rescue her. He would be the one to subdue the roboticized Sally, but unfortunately the comics reboot would begin right after. Still though, he would have been the MVP of this arc. This is how Sonic met Amy. The final issue of the post-reboot Archie Sonic comics does an adaptation of Sonic CD. After the events of Sonic Generations, Sonic finds that Eggman has returned and is attacking Little Planet. Before he can go confront the Doctor, he's interrupted by another hedgehog who introduces herself as Amy Rose, telling him her tarot cards predicted she'd meet the hero of her dreams here. When she states she'd follow him wherever he goes, he tells her to meet him at the top, and rushes off towards Little Planet. She manages to catch up with him while he's confronting Eggman, though Sonic urges her to go home. And just as Amy reassures the hedgehog that she's sure nothing bad will happen, Metal Sonic arrives and kidnaps her. Sonic rushes to her rescue and beats Metal in a race to save the pink hedgehog, but Eggman interrupts, informing them that once he collects the time stones, Sonic's victory will mean nothing, which leads Sonic to finally let Amy tag along to help him hunt down the time stones. This is when Knuckles fought Bark. In issue 269 of the Archie Sonic comics, near the beginning of the Chaos Emerald Championship, Knuckles faces off with the powerhouse Bark the Polar Bear. The hooligan wastes no time hitting Knuckles and throwing him into a wall. The Echidna retaliates, catching one of his foe's punches and hitting him in the gut. The two continue to trade blows until they are both visibly haggard. Finally, Knuckles manages to reel back and lands a good shot on Bark, knocking him out and winning Knuckles the match. The two would briefly fight in IDW's Sonic 30th Anniversary comic, getting again into a fairly evenly matched fight that this time ends in a double knockout. Knuckles did manage to capture Bark during the Fang miniseries, but the two never actually fight before Knuckles boots them off his island. This is the Chaos Devil. During the events of the first Mega Man crossover, Eggman and Dr. Wily end up fusing the Yellow Devil with a captured Chaos. The creature is first unleashed by Rouge the Bat, thinking it could be used as a means to escape from Metal Sonic and Base. Unfortunately, the unruly beast ends up capturing her as well, and it appears to be totally subservient to the two doctors. When the monster confronts Sonic and Mega Man, the two are completely outmatched but are rescued by Mega Man's ally Duo, who stays behind to battle the fused creature. While the majority of their battle occurs off-screen, Duo does manage to separate and free Chaos from the control of the Yellow Devil. These are Mighty's parents. In the Archie Sonic comics, Mighty and his baby sister Matilda were born in the kingdom of Mercia. As their family was poor, Mighty's parents turned to thievery in order to provide for the children. Unfortunately, they would be caught and imprisoned for their actions. Mighty would beg Mammoth Mogul for help, who would grant the armadillo enhanced strength so he could rescue his parents. Unfortunately, Mighty would fail to do so and would leave Mercia in a self-imposed exile, which left Matilda to be raised in an orphanage, where she was told that her family was all criminals that were either executed or exiled. This is when Sonic and Silver fought Ifrit. In the Archie Sonic 2015 Free Comic Book Day special, in the middle of Sonic doing battle with Eggman, a Genesis portal opens, with the interdimensional being known as Ifrit emerging from it. While Sonic attempts to keep it from destroying the entire city, Eggman uses this as an opportunity to escape. Just as Sonic was wishing he had some help, Silver arrives and the two begin working together to take down the beast. The Psychic Hedgehog says they need to get the Ifrit back through the portal it came from, which gives Sonic an idea. The blue hero gets Silver to throw him through the portal, baiting the creature to follow after him. And once it does, Sonic hops back through, with Silver closing it right after, sealing away Ifrit. This is when Amy defended Sally and Sonic. In issue 222 of the Archie Sonic comics, while Sally and Sonic were out to dinner, their waiter begins interrogating them about Nicole, asking what they're going to do about her since she's now viewed as a threat to the city. Before they can even respond, other patrons of the restaurant join in on the argument, leading the two to decide to spend their night elsewhere. Unfortunately, a portion of the restaurant decides to follow them. This is until Amy arrives and puts herself between them. She tells Sonic and Sally to go have a lovely evening while she deals with this. She yells at the group of citizens that the two have done more for the city than anybody else, and they deserve a night of peace and quiet. One of the Mobians asks, isn't Amy the one who's always after Sonic? To which she responds that while she thinks Sonic will one day be hers, until then, she just wants him to be happy. This is when Super Sonic fought Enerjak. At the end of issue 183 of the Archie Sonic comics, Sonic, remembering Scourge had attempted to power up with the Master Emerald, decides to do the same to fight off Enerjak and save Knuckles. The possessed Echidna tries all types of methods to deal with his opponent, including hitting him with a thunder arrow and teleporting him to the center of the planet. But Super Sonic's invulnerability leaves him unscathed. The only thing that seems to get a response from Sonic is getting punched, though Knuckles can't block that overhead. The two continue to fight and are honestly pretty evenly matched, the battle only ending when Knuckles' father sacrificed his life to free his son from Enerjak's control. This is when Eggman rebuilt Metal Sonic. After Metal was destroyed by the combined efforts of Sonic, Scourge, and the Suppression Squad, Eggman sets about rebuilding his creation more powerful than before. He tells Snively to fetch him the SXSU-401 engine, causing Snively to ask why not just use the standard STH-25, to which Eggman explains that this new one is so powerful it can allow Metal to hop across universes. After the robot's completion, Eggman asks it to detect Sonic, and when not finding him in their current universe, he immediately warps to another one, frustrating the Doctor as Metal was supposed to wait for his command. The STH-25 engine is a reference to Metal Sonic's first Archie comic appearance in Sonic the Hedgehog number 25, while the new engine is foreshadowing Metal's appearances in Sonic X number 40 and Sonic Universe number 1. This is when Knuckles was captured. In the prequel comic to the second Sonic movie, while Knuckles is searching the galaxy for Sonic, he is captured by scavengers and brought to a casino. The Echidna is placed into battle with a large crustacean, with the patrons of the casino betting on who the victor will be. Knuckles at first struggles to free himself from his binds, but once he does, he's able to take down the monster in a single hit. Once free, rather than confronting his captors, he instead hires them to help him track down the Speedy Hedgehog. Thank you all so much for watching. A special thank you to my patrons, and a special shout out to my $5 patrons, Ned Rex, Nate DM990, Diddly Do, and Queer Kaiju. See y'all in the next video.